Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Sports Office. Maurice, Doug here with you. And Doug, we've seen national reports where the Cardinals are interested in a couple of high-profile lefties. You got Cole Hamels. You've got David Price. I mean, these guys are pretty good. And also, looks like the Cardinals are probably kicking the tires on the hometown boy, Max Scherzer. When I look at this, and it feels very uncardinal-like because they usually wait around and maybe kind of see what's a good deal, by spring training, i.e., go back to the Kyle Loesch types. But these are high-profile guys. I'm just wondering, are they looking over at the Cubs and they've seen what they're doing with John Lester, seeing what they're now starting to do? I'm just wondering if they're paying attention. I'm not saying getting nervous about the Cubs, but I'm just saying maybe they're really paying attention to what's going on.
That could be. I think the Cardinals will do whatever it takes to maintain their spot at the top of the division. This division has been theirs for the better part of a decade now. And by adding one of these top three pitchers, which I think they will do, and not only will they do, I think they need to do it. I think they better do it. There are too many question marks with their starting staff as it is now. The names look great on paper. Wainwright looks great, but he is coming off that minor elbow procedure. You don't know that he's going to be 100% back. You don't know that he can make 34 or 5 starts again. Lance Lynn, I think, is a horse. You can probably count on him, but a lot of the others, Waka, Lackey, Garcia, even Gonzalez and Martinez at the end are young guys. They've all got some question behind their name. I think if they go out and get one of these three, they would instantly become a dominant favorite to win the Central Division again.
Yeah, I think fans look at a couple things. I think they say, wow, you're young guys going out the door. We saw Shelby Miller go, even though you did get Hayward in here. So I mean, that's obviously a plus. If Martinez leaves, that's another arm. You've talked about what his potential is. But I think also fans also look at it and say, well, once we get to the playoffs, you can only pitch 4. I don't know if it makes a difference. It's such a long season, like you said. I think you have to get there, and you just have to really ride out a season. I think as many healthy arms as you can get to get you to the end. But as you said, someone always seems to get hurt.
Right. And the Giants just proved that once you get to the playoffs, you really only need one pitcher. Just pitch Madison Bumgarner every other night, and that'll take you to the World Series title. It does show what an ace can do, though, in the playoffs. They become even more important than they are during the regular season when they're only taking the ball once every 5 starts. I think the guy that they ought to go after is Cole Hamels. I think he's going to be more expensive in terms of the talent that you would have to give up to get him because he still has 4 years left on his contract, and for a ace type of pitcher, it's somewhat reasonable. They'd owe him $94 million over the next 4 years, but he is a dominant left-handed pitcher. David Price would probably come cheaper in terms of what you'd have to give up because he only has 1 year left on his contract. But if you make that deal and Price pitches 1 year, he might be gone the next year. You might have just rented him for a year. Scherzer, is going to cost you probably maybe $200 million or more. I'm not sure you want to do that. I'm not sure you want to pay somebody twice what you're giving Adam Wainwright. So to me, the guy that makes sense is Hamels. Go ahead and give the Phillies some of the prospects. They probably want Piscotty. They might want Carlos Martinez. I'd say go for it. If you can give them guys you think are going to be good for a guy you know is good, go for it.
Yeah, and I think, and this is an environment where it's always about, it's not about just trying to make the playoffs, it's about winning the World Series, and they got very close. The Scherzer thing is interesting because I think in any other year, you never hear the Cardinals linked to anyone who's making 100 plus. And I don't know whether, maybe we can check the books, but obviously there's got to be some type of good cash flow coming into this team. You paid Wainwright, and it's funny, some guys, maybe there's an ego thing, maybe on some teams. Adam Wainwright doesn't seem to care. He's just like, if you're good and you can play in St. Louis, I want you. So I think that for the most part, a guy like Scherzer, would it be maybe some romantic situation, maybe with the St. Louis homeboy coming home? I don't know. He feels very expensive, but you're right. If you tie that long contract to a Scherzer, man, you got something on your hands.
Yeah, it'd be great to have him, and maybe they'll shell it out and get him. I'd be happy. I'd love it if they got Max Scherzer. He's had more strikeouts and more wins than any other pitcher in baseball over the last 3 years. It'd be fantastic to have him here, but it is a risky deal if you're asking for a pitcher who's already 30. If he's going to want a 7 or 8 year contract, that's a big gamble. The Cardinals aren't cheap. They'll shell out the money, but they're usually pretty smart about it. I think the best contract they never signed was the one for Albert Pujols. Thank goodness they didn't get $250 million on the hook for that one.
Sure.
Scherzer might cost him something close to that. So it would be a real risk, even though it would be fun to have him here.
Yeah, I'd say one other point before we close up. I guess if we both give our thoughts on biggest need going into the season. Um, Obviously, they're looking at pitching. I'm still concerned about backup catcher. When Yachty got hurt, this team took a dip, and I'm just wondering, should they still maybe continue to at least look into the idea of having a guy? And see, that's the thing. You're not going to get some guy, even a guy like A.J. Przinsky, even though he's, getting up there in years, he was looking for a spot that he can play. I'm like, this is Yadier Molina.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get any playing time. So you have to have someone who's solid enough to give you good everyday production if he's out, but yet it can't be a guy that's probably extremely high profile because they're not going to come and play behind Yadier Molina.
Right. You got to know that you're going to come here and not play much. If Molina goes down again, I don't know that you can replace him. I don't know that there's anybody out there. I mean, you're not going to get Buster Posey to come and be the backup here. I think you just take the hit. You just take a hit and try to get through it like they did this last year. I suppose they might be looking for a backup catcher. I don't know that would be a big priority right now. Maybe it becomes a bigger one later.
When he gets hurt.
Yeah, when he gets hurt, then it's a huge priority, and then that will be the number one priority.
Right.
I still think the guy they want is another big-time pitcher at the front of the rotation.
Yeah, there you go. Our thoughts from the sports office. Doug, Maurice, we'll see y'all later.